Welcome back, everybody. So today we are going to talk about the three that bit me so hard I either decided to buy them or after testing them, I had to run out and find one that I could buy to keep here at the channel because sometimes things get sent in, sometimes they're loaned to me, sometimes there's an option to buy them. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we start talking about these three that were my top keepers of 2021, whether it was pistols, rifles, or pistol caliber carbines. But before we do that, we've got to talk about a lot of what I've been able to test this year. So we're kind of rolling some footage of these things out there. So this year I got to test a bunch of different stuff, from rifles, pistols, things that I bought, things that companies sent in, things I had to send back, some things I got to keep. So talking about that, here are some of the brands I got to test out this year. SIG was a big one. I tested a bunch of different SIG variants, SIG parts. Of course, other brands like Smith & Wesson, of course, with the M&P 2.0 Core Series, Shadow Systems. More recently, I got to test a few of those. Awesome pistols right there. Strybog, a PCC, absolutely enjoyed that thing out on the range, ton of fun. And I didn't have any of the problems with the SPA3 that some people had experienced with other models. Tested a bunch of different Springfield stuff, from the Hellcats to the XDM, to the St. Victor rifle series, all of which turned out pretty good. Got some follow-up videos done with more FN stuff coming when it comes to pistols and maybe some rifles to let a few things out of the bag. And then of course the CZ stuff. I got to test a bunch of different parts in the CZs. I bought some CZs and got to work with those. Always fun working with the CZ stuff. And then the Canex, especially that Meta or however they're saying it. That thing was an absolute blast out on the range and just is an option-packed setup. And of course, the AKV9 from Palmetto State. That was a blast as well, testing that thing out. Of course, some Glocks, the 43X MOS, some of the other stuff. Blackout Defense, absolutely superb setup. I got to test out some of the Lone Wolf custom stuff, a little bit of the Taurus stuff. Of course, I did that Ballistic Advantage build. CMMG was another one that came in. And then other smaller brands as well, and just a bunch of other stuff that I just don't have enough time because I don't want to waste any more of your time. So we can go ahead and get into the top three stuff here. But there was just a lot more that I was able to test. I will link all of these videos down below so you can check those out if you're interested. But let's go ahead and dive into the top three, and not in any particular order. And what I'm going to do is basically give you my favorite three things about them, and then what I feel is one improvement that could be made with each of them. Because we don't want this to just be kind of like a puff piece, because I really genuinely like these three. But there's a couple of things we need to understand. So some of these things have been sent in by the companies. That's pretty common. They'll send you something to test. Most of the time I have to send them back. Some of the larger channels get to keep that stuff. Sometimes I have been allowed to keep them, specifically with one of these. And then other times I liked them so much that I actually went out and purchased them because they were like loaned to me by a friend. And I liked it enough to buy it. So that's kind of how some of this works when it comes to YouTube. Some stuff is sent out, some stuff I buy, a lot of it actually I buy, and then some of it is lent to me by friends or other people in the industry. All right, so getting into my three favorite keepers of 21, and this is in no specific order. We're gonna talk about my three favorite things and the one thing I would improve. And number one is going to be the AREX Delta Gen 2. Whether it's the full size like this one, the M or the X. Now I currently have the M and the full size, and I'm probably gonna be picking up the X because there is just a ton of good stuff when it comes to the AREX Delta series of pistols. My top three things with this, number one is going to be that grip texture. It has all of that sandpaper, but not overly harsh grip texture, even up here on that ledge or that accelerator cut, whatever you wanna call it. That texture is absolutely outstanding because it gives you a lot to work with, especially if you're in a sweatier, hotter, or more wet climate. The next thing is going to be just the overall ergonomics of this thing. When I saw this in the store, had no clue what it was, picked it up, punched it out, kind of did some trigger presses, absolutely liked the angles. That did transfer over out onto the range, where even though it's a little bit of a lighter pistol and some people find it snappy, it just returned exactly where I needed it to on target. So the ergonomics of it, phenomenal. Plus, it's kind of got that cool, like almost like 80s look. And I guess that's just kind of, you know, that's an AREX thing. I guess that's what the Slovenians are into because that's where this thing comes from, Slovenia. And my last favorite thing with the AREX Delta Gen 2s here is going to be the performance and the accuracy. I had no problems with this thing, and it is a lot cheaper than a lot of other things out there in the market that give you everything that this pistol does. The accuracy was outstanding, and the actual running of this with different types of ammo, for me, was a positive experience out there. And that's always good, especially when it comes to a more budget-friendly pistol that they try to pack all of these options into. Now, the one thing I'm going to say could be improved on this is extended controls. So as you can see, both on the slide stop, slide release right here, and on that magazine release, there's just not much to work with. And I found myself more than once kind of slipping past those controls out there. Now, they do sell extended controls, you can purchase those, but giving me the extended controls out of the box on this would have made this just that much better. And as I've said before, that much can make a big difference. Just ask your significant other. But all joking aside, if you want to see the review on those or any things here that we're talking about, I will link all the reviews I did on these down in the description below. And of course, all those links will be there for the build list should you be interested in anything. Number 2 is going to bring out the rifle that was a big keeper for me, and that is going to be the Blackout Defense Quantum Mark II. This thing has so much good stuff going on with it. And I just love the way not only it looks, but the way that this thing actually turned out on the range for the performance. I've actually got the 5,000 round follow-up on this. I'm telling you, it's a runner, it's a looker, it gives you almost everything. And I will talk about what it doesn't give you that I think it needs here in a minute after we talk about my 3 favorite things. Number 1 on the Blackout Defense is just going to be the quality of this thing. From the machine work, the way that the rail locks in, they paid attention to almost every detail on this, and they're bringing almost everything in-house on this. And what I mean by that is, originally it came with like a CMMG ambi charging handle and some other parts that they brought in from other companies. At this point, they're actually being able to produce, manufacture, and control all of that stuff in-house. That is a huge quality control positive when it comes to custom-ish kind of rifles like this. And it's definitely a positive when you can make almost everything in-house besides some of those small parts. Number 2 on the positives here is going to be the gas tuning on this thing. So I got a bunch of different rifles this year. Some of them were quite gassy. I actually found that the Daniel Defense was really overgassed. Most of the Ballistic Advantage barrels I've tested, which is 3 now, all of them extremely overgassed for the length of the barrel, at least in my opinion. Some to the point where they're like 10.5 barrels or 12.5 barrels wouldn't even run appropriately. They were so far overgassed. So Blackout Defense, they're an aerospace company with like straight legit contracts for like the Apache and multiple other items. So they don't mess around. Carbine buffer, I've done some playing around with it because I run a suppressor on this a lot with an H1, H2, and they're actually going to be coming out with a modifiable buffer that you can actually weight yourself and really just tune it in to exactly how and what you're going to run. And that's pretty cool. And the last big positive on this one is going to be this trigger. 100% pure sickness. The 0 trigger. That's the brake. And here's the reset and brake again. It is just insane. Now, a lot of people have been testing that trigger out, and everyone I know likes it. So what is the one thing I would change when it comes to the Quantum Mark II from Blackout? That's going to be some QD attachments for the sling. So as you can see, I've got one on here. Didn't come with it, so you kind of have to figure out what your sling attachments are going to be, although they do give you the rear sling attachment. It's a Magpul one, and then in the back of the included stock, it has the QD attachment as well. But forward on that rail, it didn't have anything from the factory. But as of the making of this video and talking to the owner of the company, because they're local to me here, all of that's been remedied. So they've come out with their own backplate now, and they're coming out with their own QD attachments for the rail, which are going to be included on this thing for the same price it was earlier in the year. A little bit of a non-issue now, but still was an issue on this one. And that was a tough find when it comes to this rifle. All right, so number 3 on the list is going to be the Shadow Systems DR920 War Poet. This thing's pure sex. I'm just gonna put that out there. It's everything you want a Glock to be that Glock will never accomplish because they don't innovate since like 1978 or whenever they came out with the original Glock design. There's just so much good stuff going on here, but we're gonna narrow it down to 3 things that I think are the most important and that I like the most out of the Shadow Systems Warpoet DR920. And Shadow Systems, if you're watching, send me the X because I bought this one and I'd like the X too. So if you're willing to send me one, let me know. And number 1 on this is gonna be the ergonomics of this thing. They have fixed everything I hate about the Glock angle. Less aggressive, no Glock hump, better up in the front, although the new Gen 5s don't have finger grooves, hate finger grooves. You've got the ledges up here on the side, left-handed, right-handed. You can get your thumb in there, doesn't matter. Right-handed, wrong-handed, you can work this thing because they've just done a great job with the ergonomics. And I wish maybe if we could get a ambi control, but it's not a Gen 5, so that's asking a lot. Number 2 on the Shadow system is definitely going to be the optics mounting system they came up with. Direct to the slide with a little shim system so you can use different cut optics with different screw patterns in there. That's a huge deal because that is going to give you 1, maximum depth for your sights, and 2, maximum strength and thread depth for the attachment screws. The Glock MOS plates doesn't even meet the industry fastener standard when it comes to thread depth into that plate to hold your optic on. That's not a problem with the DR920 because it's direct to slide. And the last thing, and this is probably the most important for the Shadow systems, it's the full package. The DR920 Warpoet comes exactly like you see it here, minus my cool Surefire X300. The magwell, the better grip angles, the hollow sun, the high sights, threaded barrel, better ergonomics, the machine work, the cool Warrior Poet Society logos if you're into it. It's the full package at a reasonable price. Very reasonable for what you get once you start doing the math. If you tried to do this to a Gen 4, Gen 5, or even a Gen 3 Glock, you're gonna quickly see it's a value. Now, what is the one thing I would change on this here Warpoet? And I'm gonna tell you it is the fact that the trigger shoe safety right here doesn't go all the way flush. So I love the overall look of the trigger. I like flat face triggers the best, but the trigger shoe safety on this just doesn't go all the way flush. And that bugs me because I really enjoy a completely flat trigger shoe with that safety all the way depressed once I have engaged and decided to take that shot or at least take that slack out. What I think this could benefit from is making a deal with Overwatch Precision to get their trigger shoes. That would be the coup de grace, the end of it, that would make this the 100% complete package, and I would literally sell every Glock I own. Now I know that was a lot and it might have gone on long, but I really enjoyed those 3 things. I had a great experience with all of them. And like I said, I liked it enough to where I actually bought all of those except for the rifle. So Blackout Defense did give me that rifle, but it's exceptional. I don't make anything off telling you I like that rifle, but it's pretty cool. So am I right? Am I wrong? Or what did I miss? Because it seems to be that we all have different butts that we want to put in different seats, but this is what I had for the year out of all those things that I listed and a lot more and I tested. So let me know in the comments down below. Get subbed up, get belled up, turn those notifications on if you're into getting notified when the videos come out. And if you're looking for those reviews, that will be listed down below. You guys get out there, have some fun on the range. Remember, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. Numero uno. I will see you guys on the next one.